hanging from a cable or something, going around like this. Woo.
Yeah, and you're just like sitting in a bucket seat?
I guess. I don't know. Didn't look very relaxing to me.
Denny, did you ever get in that ride that looked like the spaceship that spins you, like you just stand on that pad around the outside? Everybody stands on a pad and then it spins and it pulls you to the wall and then it goes up and down. You've never gotten in one of those?
That would be cool, I think.
Yeah.
Except
it like pulled tears out of your eyes because you're just stuck to the wall. What is that? Centripetal, some sort of force. Yeah. Anyways, back to leather. So I've got my edges glued up here. We've got that 1/2 inch glue allowance, and then we're going to fold it over. So Clayton and I, when we were putting this pattern together yesterday, we did the original one that did not include the seam allowance around the edge for those rolled edges. And so then I had him do another one, which should be on the pattern that you guys can download, that does have that. But I kind of liked keeping that extra one that was narrower so that I had what it's supposed to look like when it's done. And I can lay it on there and make sure that I'm not over rolling my edges, because I'm going to have to match up the little tabs that go around the end are going to need to match up with that. And I actually had to trim mine down a little bit. So once you get everything rolled, if these are too wide, you just take and you just cut off of each side, whatever you need to make it go in line with the width that you end up with. You just want to make sure that your front and the back are the same. That's really all that matters. Even if it's a little bit narrow, if it's a little bit wider, wouldn't be great, but I don't think you're going to have that problem. You just want to make sure that it's the same. All right. Right? That's all that matters. So we're going to roll this. And I would suggest, I tried to do it with basting tape yesterday first, and basting tape just really doesn't hold. Because this is kind of stout.
Plus, some leathers aren't
like
friendly with cement, you know.
What do you mean? With tape?
Or tape or
anything.
Contact cement, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not using an overly oily leather. Well, I mean, it's pretty dry. It's Hermano. But if you're using an oil tan, you might have some issues. How much square footage is recommended? If you were just buying just for this project, I would say probably buy at least 2 square feet of whatever your padding material is, just because you do need that 22 inches long. If you found a leather that you liked that was offered in a pre-cut 12 by 24, that would be really handy if you didn't want a lot of extra. But at least 2 feet. And then for your strapping, maybe another 2 feet of material. And then, I mean, you're going to have some left over, but you need the length. So with my strips, for the adjustment straps, they're 13 inches long. But if you had somebody that was larger, I mean, I kind of made this for myself. But if you had somebody that was larger, wanted it to hang longer, you might need a little bit more length. So I would say probably 2 feet of each, and then you'd be able to make probably quite a few, or at least a couple sets.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Most people, especially those that are fairly new to leather work, you know, they expect to be able to buy a certain amount of material and have no waste and make their project and be satisfied. But they don't realize, you know, when you buy fabric, which is what a lot of them are used to, you buy it by the yard, and most fabric is 5 feet long or 4 feet long by however many yards.
Yeah, a lot of times 48 to 50 is thick.
You get an exact amount every time.
But even then, usually, I mean, if you got to buy a yard or even a half a yard, you're buying quite a bit of material for whatever it is that your project is.
But leather, you know, animals aren't made in square and rectangular shapes. They're pretty odd. And you know, when we buy leather from the tannery, we have to buy the whole hide, and we pay for every square inch. Yep,
they run it through those little calculating machines, and it stamps the footage on the back of it all the way. Sometimes it'll do it in tenths. A lot of your pigskin comes in, and it's been calculated in tenths of a square foot. Herman Oak and a lot of your veg tan does quarters. So you'll see, 23 and a quarter or 23 and 3/4 square feet, that kind of situation. So they're not, they calculate every inch of that leather that they've tanned.
Well, they have to. That's the way they buy it. That's the way they tan it. That's the way they have to sell it. And we have to buy it that way. And we hate to say it, but you folks do too.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just making sure that when I fold these over down here, I'm folding them over so that they match up, because I want them to be the same width. Or at least as close to the same width as possible. And these are kind of tucked in to those little tabs at the end, which is nice. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It's really quiet without Tony here.
It is. Tony filling in all our gaps.
Yeah. He's a good gap filler.
Yeah. He's in California this week, right?
No, he's in Florida. He's at Disney
Florida.
World.
Oh.
Yeah. He's at the
I was
world,
thinking he went to
not the
Disneyland.
land. Mm-mm. J. Deere Leatherworks wants to know how we're doing.
We're doing really good.
Denny said he had a 4-day weekend this weekend, so
Yeah.
he's nice and rested. I just had my regular 2 days, so.
I didn't say I was rested.
J. Deere Leatherwork on Twitch says, "Hey, Denny and Liz, how are you guys doing today?" Or was that you seem friendly.
We're doing good. It's cooled down a little bit, so we have a bit of a reprieve from that awesome 100 degree heat we were enjoying last week.
Yeah, generally this time of year around here is the hottest time of year.
Yeah.
And I think it'll probably warm back up again before it's over.
Denny, I'm going floating for the first time.
Really?
And I can't remember how long next weekend, so I'm super excited about that.
Where are you going?
We're going to go to the Elk River.
Oh, I know where that is. Down by No.
That's exactly where that is. That's where we're staying.
Yeah.
So we're going to do an 8-mile float and then camp.
Canoe?
In a canoe.
Canoes. All right. Yeah,
Chris-
you'll have fun.
Chris hasn't been in a canoe and probably since he was a small child. So we're going to see how this goes. It might be really funny. We might end up swimming more than we float. Hopefully not, though.
No, everybody, there's not much to it.
Yeah.
Like that guy said, he said, "Do you know how to ride a bike?" And the lady said, "Well, I used to." And he said, "Well, it's nothing like that."
Well, that's good because Chris just learned how to ride one of those.
A bike? Are you joking?
I sure am not. That's probably one of his best kept secrets that I just told the world. He was a whole 34 years old before he learned how to ride a bike.
That's awesome. A lot of people just like, whatever, I'm not even going to try.
He fell off at once as a child and he was like, nope, I have no need for this. And he left it alone.
I'm just a little bit amazed.
Everybody is. It makes everybody's day.
And I'm sure he's thrilled that you told everybody.
Oh, I'm sure he is. He loves it when I tell the world. It's probably going to be a terrible weekend now. All right.
That's all right. You still got the upper hand.
Exactly. I'll have a paddle.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. All right. So I've got my 2 edges rolled. So here we are. They're nice. And really, we can finagle them a little bit. I still have the padding to put in the middle. They're good. They're good to go. So next what we're going to do is in these kind of ends here. So our straps are going to come up about an inch inside the main part of the strap here. So I'm going to skive this guy down, but I'm also going to skive out my extra fuzzies on the middle up about an inch, just so that I don't have extra volume there where I don't need it. So I'm going to take one of our really wide French edgers, and I'm just going to kind of just skive out that middle section. I could have bell knifed this when I was bell knifing, but I figured you guys probably don't have one of those. So we're just going to do this part the manual way. Because I'm definitely not going to skive all those edges the manual way.
Looks like you took probably a third of that weight off.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's get that out of there. I'm going to do this one.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions on it.
Are you in the bow or the stern of the canoe?
It's going to depend on where Chris can sit.
I'd say Liz will be in the bow.
Yeah. Yeah, he's probably just going to have to learn how to steer it because he probably can't sit in the front. Yeah. Okay.
And Kirill from Poland says hi to everybody. And Mike Smith says SLC is the best. He's from Clinton, Missouri.
Do you make it down here?
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Even though Denny's not stamping anything today.
No, we got kind of fed up with stamping last week.
That was a lot of basket weaving.
It wasn't a very big project, but when you use a small basket weave, it just takes a long time to fill up that. Everybody thinks, well, I'll just basket stamp that. It won't take very long.
That's not how that works. Steve, yes. He asked if anybody was going to be in Waco. Rusty and Lindsay are headed that way. I think they're leaving tonight or tomorrow. So they're going to be making their way down there. So keep an eye out for Rusty and Lindsay, if you know what she looks like. She's on the front of most of the catalog, so hopefully you've seen her. Okay, so I've got my one strip here. These strips are a 1/2 inch. I didn't provide a pattern for them in the little PDF because they're just 1/2 inch strips. And you can put the adjustments wherever you want. I will kind of tell you where I put the adjustment holes. But
What are they, about 18, 2 feet long, something like that?
yeah, probably about that. I'm going to cut them down to about 13 inches or so once I get them. So just nice 1/2 inch wide strips here. Once again, this is the Evergreen Buffalo, and I just left these straps at full weight. I am going to, once again, skive down those edges that are going into the strip. So just that 1 inch or so at the end. This part I have to be careful so I don't take off more than I mean to.
Nice job.
Thanks, Denny. Look at that. Skive that guy down. Skive this one.
There's all sorts of different tools you can use to skive this stuff. You'd use a head knife or a round knife. Or
You
use
could.
a safety beveler, or you can use what's that other beveler that looks like a potato peeler? Anyway, there are several.
Yeah.
There are several.
All right. So we just
Whatever it takes.
those little guys skive down about 1 inch there. And then, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to choose which one will be our back section. So I don't know if the grain is really too much different on either one of those. So I'll make this my back. This will be my top. So here we've got our piece of foam, and I just kind of cut it down to size, but now that I've got everything rolled here, I'm going to go back through and I'm going to trim up so that my foam falls right inside my my rolled edge line.
Yeah,
So-
you don't want that foam showing through after you've
no.
stitched. Yeah.
No.
How wide were those strips?
These?
1/2 inch.
1/2 inch.
Thanks, Liz.
Yep. So this side actually looks pretty good. So I'm just going to line up that side. Yeah, I want it just to fall right inside because we're going to sew this line. And so I don't want the foam to be in the stitch line, I want to actually give myself a little bit of room. And then this, because it's going to be really hard to sew it if my foam is coming over too far. It's going to want to kick that foot out. Let's trim that up. Clayton made me sew that whole thing yesterday all by myself, which I didn't really appreciate before, but I appreciated it afterwards so that it was a little bit more comfortable.
You used our illustrious Class 26.
I did.
It makes life easier, folks.
It is. The 26 is a really beautiful machine. And we've got a section where those ends come down on that strap. I tell you what, it's pretty hefty. You've got 2 pieces of the 4 to 5 ounce. So you've got like 8 to 10 ounces here, plus these. It got, these doubled up. It got pretty heavy there at the end, but sewed it like a champ. I did learn from your mistake last week, though, and I set my stitch length nice and long so that when I sewed,
foam,
yep.
Yes.
So this foam, we're going to sew a stitch line down the middle of it. And Denny last week made the realization that you really should have a longer stitch length because the foam shortens it a lot.
Yeah.
Because it is pinching it down.
Yeah, it eats some of your length as you're going.
Yeah. We just want to stick it right in here.
Such precision.
Yeah. All right. So on my pattern here, basically I just went from my center line and the foam is about a foot long. So my overall strap pad is about 22 inches and then I've got about a foot. So 6 inches on either side of my center line. And then I just slightly rounded the ends. So you guys do, if you want to include foam, just kind of make that your own and get it in there. A lot of people, when it comes to their filler, they go really all out. They will contour the filler to where it's like perfect. Yeah. And we're not going to do that. Yeah. We're just going to.
You can take it to a belt sander or a spindle sander and contour those edges if you want. But
okay. So once again, about a foot of foam centered in the middle here. And I'm actually going to I've got this. So just to make sure that my foam is centered. Now, when you start skiving this thing, it did stretch out a little bit. So I've probably added another 1/4 of an inch on either side, but we'll just. Yep, that looks about centered to me. So I'm going to draw my lines here. And then we're going to put some glue. Glue that foam in.
yeah, that's something you don't have to have a perfect glue job on that center foam either because it's not going to go anywhere. You're going to stitch it in.
Exactly. So just get some glue on there, hold it in place while you're doing your construction.
Yeah.
That's good enough. Grab the handy dandy hairdryer.
Jason said he's going to get us a pink hairdryer.
We're still waiting.
And Chad says, can you get a flat table with the Class 26 like the Class 3 and 4? And yes, you can get a flat top table.
The Class 26 just doesn't have like the premium package. So with the 3 and the 4, you can get the premium package that comes with the work platform plus all those other accessories. The 26, you just have to buy it separately. It's $119.
It works really well. I was, on a smaller machine like that, I was used to using a flatbed, and I was afraid of the 26 until I started using it now. you don't really need a flatbed.
Yeah. All right. So foam is in, and we are also, so now that the foam is in, we're going to do some finishing on these strips because these have to go in next. So with these guys, we are going to bevel. Got my nice, and I'm just going to do these at full length, and then I just trim down the end once I got it done to wherever I wanted. So, you know, honestly, if you were making camera straps to sell on Etsy or whatever, and you wanted to have the option for people to customize the length of the adjustment strips, you could make up a whole bunch of these, leave them at 20 inches, and then, you know, lift the lengths that you wanted to cut them to, and then you could just cut them down and add your buttonhole studs later, or button stud holes.
Yeah.
Button, yeah. That one. The grain on this is a little bit loose and it's a little tricky to bevel. So, I do love this buffalo though. It has a really great feel once it's finished. I brought in some saddle soap and that's all I'm going to do to the edges. I'm just going to bevel and then saddle soap them. Yesterday I gum tracked those and they did fine. It's just the gum track takes a little bit longer to dry. Denny, I'm going to give you this, and you can saddle soap it while
We'll do it.
I'm beveling the other one.
Most people are afraid to use too much soap, but I don't think you can use too much soap.
And I feel like Denny like experimented with that. I feel like you really put that to the test.
I have.
So
I've used saddle soap for 35 years.
he's never used too much. All right. So we've got those beveled. Yeah, that's nice. I do just love all this buffalo. All of it. It's great. You know what? We're just a little bit long on this side, so I'm going to trim that up. There we go. All right. So we've got our foam, and now we've got our strips. So we take the back section with our foam. We're going to lay this guy up into that groove that we have beveled out there, and we're going to glue him down. Everything feels so quiet today.
Well, the absence of Tony.
Tony, I hope you're watching.
He probably is.
He's probably waiting in line for Frozen or something ridiculous. Maybe Star Wars.
I wonder if it's really hot in Florida this time of year.
I think it's always really hot in Florida all the time. We were there in October of last year, and it was really hot.
Really?
Yeah, it was probably in the 90s for the most part.
Man.
Yeah, It was late October too. I think we were there till maybe like the 1st of November. It was still warm, but that was okay. I don't know why I'm not using the hairdryer, but I just don't feel like it.
It just makes noise.
Yeah, it does. It's just loud.
And we like the quiet.
We do. You know what, Denny? I'm going to have you start beveling these because I hate beveling corners and I feel like I'm never doing a good job at it. So these are our little...
Top and bottom?
Yes, please. These are our little strap ends. Are you going to get that in one shot? No, you didn't either. That makes me feel better. All right. So we are going to... The one thing that I like to do is just wherever you've skived to, that's where I kind of want to make sure that I'm hitting, just because I don't want that skive portion showing, even though, I mean, it's going to be on the back, so it really won't. But we're just going to make sure that tucks right there. On this side. Right there. And then just center those as close as you can get. I feel like my eyeball does a pretty good job of centering, so I'm going to go with that. They look pretty darn centered. So now we've got that assembled. And then the next thing is to glue this one on top. So
Shipping guy has started a counter for the number of times the silence has been related to Tony being gone.
Okay, we'll start talking about more.
2. I mean, it's pretty much always that Tony's gone. But... I think he would be sad if we didn't talk about him at all. You know, like he's gonna watch this at one point to see how it goes, so that he could judge us. He would be disappointed if we didn't have anything to say about Tony being gone. So we're gluing. We just really want to make sure that we don't get glued too far past like halfway down that rolled edge, because you don't want to see it in your seam.
Good. Get over here.
That doesn't count. It was picture in picture.
Hope it's okay to settle so these edges.
Oh yeah.
Because I already am.
Because you already did. Nope, that's perfect. I want to make sure that I get glue along the edge of the foam so that those two sides will stick when I put them together. If you do get a little bit of glue outside your line there, that's what glue erasers are for. Yeah. I mean, is it just me or is it just really quiet?
It is really quiet.
Okay.
It is just you because you stopped talking.
Crap.
That's all right.
It can be so quiet here.
I know.
That sounds
All right. Got you set here.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got that. Now we gotta glue the other side. All the glue.
Did anybody notice that Liz's hair isn't the same color as it was yesterday? Or whenever I saw it last.
Last week. I assumed that you guys were just handling that. You know, you just gotta switch it up every once in a while.
So what is the width of the French skiver? This one she was using was about a 1/2 inch. A 1/2 inch and a 1/4 inch are the two most common sizes that I use.
I think I have both of those in here. Well, wait a minute. What was
Yeah.
this one?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
about a 1/4 inch,
Yep.
and the other one's about a 1/2 inch. Any bigger than a 1/2 inch, I have trouble with. It takes too much material. You about have to be a weightlifter to use it very well. Chris could do it pretty well. Even though he just learned to ride a bike, he could run a big French edger.
All right. Okay. So we got our glue. Gonna do the loud thing. Gonna,
What does it do for you when you go like this?
I don't know. That's what I do with my hair. So it's
I would say.
it makes me feel like it's doing something
Yeah,
instead of just holding it.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I would call this a Liz original. It's not an SLC kit, Wayne, but you know, I looked at some internet pictures and I wanted to make a padded straps, and this is a conglomeration of things that I found. So
It is an original. You made this pattern from scratch.
I did do that.
I mean, all originals are from someone else's idea.
There are no
I-
original ideas
there
anymore,
are-
guys.
Yeah.
There are 7 billion of us, and there have been how many ever billion
Yeah.
people already come and gone. Life is unoriginal at this
Yes,
point.
it is.
Especially with leather work. I mean, for Pete's sakes. I mean, we've been doing leather work as society for
Yeah,
ever.
thousands of years.
Yeah. So,
I remember when we were at Herman Oak in St. Louis you
Oh,
were
when we
there.
toured,
You
yeah.
took the same tour I did.
we did.
And when it was all over, Shep Herman was in there, and we were all talking to him, and he was answering questions. And someone said, "Who invented vegetable tanned leather?"
He had a good story.
Yeah, it's a good story. And he said, "Well, probably some caveman killed a mammoth, and when after he'd skinned it, he threw the hide over, and it landed in a mud hole that was had a rotten log in it."
Mm-hmm.
And he said the next year the guy came by again, and there was that same piece of hide that he'd thrown in there, and it was soft. And it was leather,
Yep.
you know. So that's how stuff gets invented.
Accidents.
Kill yourself a mammoth.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. So, guys, I'm going edge by edge, basically, and just making sure that my rolled edges line up. You can kind of finagle the material in the middle to make it lay right, but you want your edges to line up so that they look nice, so that your seam, you know, whenever you sew it, you don't not get some side, or there's you just want the edges to line up. That's the important part. So I'm just kind of going back and forth and working my way down this pad.
And that's the thing, especially this type of leather. It's soft and it's stretchy. It's forgiving. It'll let you have your way with it, kind of.
Yeah. Yep. You can squish it or stretch it or...
Yeah. And if you stick it together and it's a little bit wrong, pull it apart and reposition it.
Yeah. It's probably the water guys here. Changing out the water. I hear jugs.
I see this coming together now.
Yep. So now I'm going to go, I've just passed my foam, so I'm going to put the ends together and then I'm going to work my way backwards And I didn't really have, I probably would have come right up on it, but just to make sure that my ends butt up, I want to put those together first. And then go this way. There we go.
Should I punch these slots for you?
I was going to do that.
Okay.
I was going
then
to
you
do
just
one
that.
little thing here. But first, I'm going to hammer this. Actually, I almost forgot that yesterday. And then Clayton was like, "Are you going to hammer those seams?" So with your rolled edge, I already got my mallet out. Metal hammer, granite slab, or your steel workbench, or whatever it is you have, and you want to hammer these as flat as you can get them, so that when you sew them, you're not getting that squish out as you sew it. Yeah, so you want to do that now. It just makes everything look nice.
When you hammer it like that, it compresses the leather and actually makes it more firm right there on that edge.
Yeah. Here we go. And just hammered. So, got everything meeting up pretty well. Is good enough. All right. That's the back side. Here's the top side. We are almost done gluing for today. Okay. So on these things, so these are our little strap ends that will slide over our straps here and then secure all of this in place. So I have a 1/2 inch, this one. Yep. So the little template should have a little 1/2 inch slot in it. You'll need to punch that out in the middle. Oh, you know what I actually did first to make it a little bit easier. So yesterday with that, it doesn't quite want to fold all the way, and I was getting a little bit of grain cracking as I was doing it. So I took the 1/4 inch French edger and found my middle section and then just kind of skived out some of that material so that it would fold easier for me.
Yeah, and this piece really has no structural value other than just cosmetic, right?
Yep, it's just going to hold. Yeah, I mean,
it just finishes out that raw edge.
Exactly. Yeah, we're going to sew that strap in place, so this isn't holding that strap in place at all. Abigail, do you want me to take a drink of coffee?
Huh? No.
Okay,
Well,
thanks.
has anybody redeemed with coffee?
I mean, if you haven't, that's 100% fine. You were just standing there.
No, I'm waiting for whenever you go over to the sewing machine. I'm gonna adjust the camera. He's not here.
Dean wants to know if I would use a French skiver more or a super skiver, and I use the French skiver pretty much all the time. Everything has its place. The super skiver I use,
and everything in it.
Yes, everything in its place now.
Sorry.
But yeah, a French edger is my go-to tool.
Okay. So I am hoping that this just meets right up with those edges. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm not going to worry about trimming it down. I could probably trim it down a little bit, but since Denny's already saddle soaked the whole thing, I'm just gonna let it go. So
Did you say what brown oil can you use?
this is Herman Oak Heritage.
Oh, it's heritage.
Mhm.
No wonder it's so soft.
Yeah. So we've got that guy.
And Terry says this would make a great strap for a nice tool string pouch, and it sure would. Yeah, I mean, this is a strap. It's a neck strap. It would be good for anything that you want to.
Yep. I put these whenever I did my other one. I put them on first before I glued them in because the other end is skived, and so they go on easier. There we go.
Once you get it started, it'll be okay.
Okay. Abigail, I'm actually going to go over there now. So So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take this over. I'm going to put like 3 stitches here in the middle of each end to secure that strap in. I'm going to sew the perimeter, and then I'm also going to put a stitch down the center of just the foam. So I'm actually going to mark that here real fast. I'm not going to start quite at the end of the foam. I'm going to come in like 3/4 of an inch or so from the end of the foam, give myself a little mark there. And make sure that you're doing this on the top side and not the bottom. Come in about 3/4 of an inch, give myself a mark. And then I'm just going to draw a line. I'm going to get that end in my coffee one of these days. There we go. So I'm going to do a stitch here, and then the perimeter, and then those little strap-ins.
You're good. Nice.
That's better.
Wayne wants to know if we sell the foam, and yes, we do. It comes in 1/4 inch is the only weight that we have it in, which would be fine for this. But since we had the ability to split it down with our Komodo splitter, we did split it down a little bit thinner. But like I said, the 1/4 inch would work fine for this. We also sell a 1/4 inch headliner foam, which is quite a bit softer than this, but that would work also. And Paul wants to know if there are any hopes of an in-depth lacing and buck stitch tutorial in the future. I guess there could be. We hadn't really planned on that, but that's something that we could take into account later on. We'll see what happens, Paul.
We can put it on our list.
Yeah.
Got that. Okay, when I try to go on the wrong side.
Are you taking pictures? No, it's just like trying to focus on the background, so I'm trying to keep it focused here.
And that was just to anchor those end straps, right?
Yep, that's just to anchor those guys. You could do some fancy stitching. So instead of sewing this inside here, you could take these and do like some fancy interior stitch to catch that strap. But I was nervous enough just sewing that strap around the perimeter that I didn't feel like doing that. So I just decided to anchor them inside.
See, and if someone decides they're going to do a fancy stitch and anchor them differently, then it will be their original.
Exactly. All right, so now we're just doing our perimeter. I've got, let's see where we're at. I've got my flip down roller edge guide here. And right there, so I'm going to scooch this in a little bit.
It was just that saddle seat padding foam, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
We sell it. I don't know if we've got only the gray now or only the yellow.
No, we have the gray.
The gray.
Mm-hmm.
The gray is a little. It's almost like memory foam. It kind of takes.
It's a high density foam.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really nice stuff.
Oh, this tiny wheel on this thing, though.
It's pretty small, huh?
It's really small.
But I've noticed that, and Terry was talking about it. Her machine at home, it freewheels easier than this one does.
Does it?
I think every one of them is probably a little different. It just depends on the machine.
Every machine is.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody asked, but 138 top and bottom and just our standard brown.
I can see from here it's making that puff up. Just it looks really nice quilted.
It doesn't really matter how pretty these are, they're all hidden anyways.
And Terry wants to know what the best way to adhere the saddle foam to veg tan or chrome tan. And either one, I would say the best way is probably a contact cement. That's what I've always used.
Yeah, I mean, that glued up just fine. No issues there.
Yeah. The best part about contact cement is it never gets hard and brittle. And, you cement both the sides of whatever project it is you're doing, and it dries in just a few minutes and it's ready to adhere.
Oh, you know, back in there.
And Razor Blade wants to know if anyone has seen a walking foot machine that can do a zigzag. And I'm not familiar with one, but
Yeah, no,
we had a machine at one time that would do a zigzag,
the
but
sail right for zigzag.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't believe it was walking foot, was it?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
I don't think so.
All right. Got that all done, so now we're going to put our pins on and go back over here. All right. Seriously, in my coffee.
That looks great.
Yeah.
Looks
I love
good.
this heritage.
Looks nice. Yeah.
I think we've used it for almost every video that we've done here recently. So now these ends are just going to scooch up, and then we're going to sew them down, and then we will... Ooh, you know what you could do while I'm sewing?
What's that?
You could cut out... So
those end tabs?
Yep, so you just have to cut one of those and then cut it in half.
All right. I will do that. If I can find something to mark with.
All right, so I'm just going to contact cement these guys down. Just going to do the front side and then the back side. Really just need this to stay in place as long as you're sewing it. All blow dry.
Are the green stripes the Kelly Green XL?
No, they're the green buffalo. The Excel isn't quite heavy enough. You could do like a 2-ply for this, but the buffalo comes in at an 8 to 10 ounce. So it's already nice. I did split it down. These little tabs are a 4.5 ounce or so for the end pieces. But I liked the thickness of the full weight for the full strap. And again. Oh, I unplugged. All right. Chevy guy said he likes the color combo. I can't take full credit for this. When I was working yesterday, I was going to just do 2 of the black and stone ones, but Clayton was like, black doesn't show up really well, and you should do green and brown, which I don't know why I didn't think of that, because that's probably my favorite color combination. Oh, Paul wants to see us use some Stingray. I've actually done a couple Stingray inlays recently that have come out pretty decently, if I do say so myself.
Stingray lends itself to being inlaid much more than a top.
Oh. Yeah, it's pretty terrible to get a good edge on Stingray. So when you inlay it, you can just sand down what will go underneath, and then you don't have to worry about your stitch being weird. All right.
Yeah, the problem with trying to top stitch Stingray is your needle wants to go between the little beads.
Yeah. Yeah, so then your stitch line comes out all zigzaggy. All right. Woo! Didn't he just throw a hammer? Listen here. I know there's been a lot of Olympics going on recently, but... All right. So on these, I gave myself quite a large seam allowance just because I wanted to make sure that I caught the back. I came in a little bit inside my seam that I put here, which is about 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to go, this is where I want to go. Yeah, a little bit wider than that.
Sorry, I put that on the wrong side.
That's all right. I forgive you. I forgive you.
Right back where it goes.
All right. Okay. You already cut everything. Look at you. And back to the machine. Sorry, I made it.
It's okay.
And there was someone, and I'm not going to attempt the name. They said the Sailrite Ultra Feed is a walking foot zigzag machine,
Okay.
but it states it's only good for soft type leathers.
Yeah, the sail rights, I mean, they're made for heavy canvas, obviously,
Yeah.
for sailing. So you can do lightweight leathers, but you're not going to be doing saddle zigzags.
Right.
Oh, this part. This is my least favorite part.
You're doing well, though.
This class 26 is just really impressive. I've been really impressed with myself over the last 2 days of sewing that I haven't hit the gas when I didn't mean to. Because that's probably one of the things that I do the most is I mean to hit that foot lift. And I hit the gas instead and then make a big old mess. Yep. You're gonna have so many cool pictures. There's Wani in
If I don't hold the focus down, it just likes to shift in and out of focus. Just manually.
You guys pay attention to how Liz is doing this. When she's in a tight spot, she just goes one stitch at a time.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. If you get in a hurry, that's when you have malfunctions.
And with the servo motor and the speed reducer, you can go one stitch at a time. That's all right. You just want to make sure that your needle is in the right position before you turn it, because you can pull or like skip a stitch. So if your needle isn't coming back up from the last stitch, it's possible for you to, when you rotate your stuff, to undo that little loop that was created in there.
Yeah.
So make sure that you're not doing that, and you'll be fine.
Seems familiar. Says so. The saddle soap says to wet it to lather, but it's not exactly the way I use it, and that's exactly right. I don't ever use it with water. I just use it straight out of the can, and it seems to work a lot better. The trouble is when you use it with water, the water dries out, and you don't know how much saddle soap you've actually got on there. But this Skiving's paste saddle soap has a lot of lanolin in it, and I don't want to dilute that because the lanolin is actually a softening agent. It seems to be. Anyway, that's the answer to that question. That's the only one that I know to give you.
Okay, well that is sewing done. And we'll come back over here and we'll just finish out our straps. So, like I said,
Great. Looks great.
it looks all right. I got stitches on the top and the bottom. Nothing
Yep.
fell off anywhere. So,
Looks great.
it's all right.
That is a nice color combination too.
It is. It looks
Green
good.
and the brown together.
Yeah. This is for somebody that takes outdoor pictures of trees.
There you go.
It's pretty granola.
All right. So with these guys, I just measured down 12 inches from the base here, and I cut it off with my little English point. So we're going to do that again. Got 12 inches here, and I've got another 12 inches here. But once again, this is customizable. So like I said, I left them really long. If you have somebody that wants longer adjustments, then you do what they need. Or if you want to put more adjustments on it, this strap only has the 2 here. I could probably add another buttonhole. Like if I wanted to do another buttonhole down here, I could do that. And then you could adjust it a little bit farther. So just do whatever you guys need, or whatever your customer needs to make them happy with the adjustment options for this. So we're just going to do what I did before. That's what I got. And I'm going to let Abigail pick between these two, and it fit her pretty good. So we're just going to go with it. So I just got my little 1/2 inch English tip here. I'm going to center it. Come back up. Yeah, it's good. Cut that end. That end. And then for the holes, what I did is I came down, I think it was 2 inches. Let me just double check that. Yep. So 2 inches from the base of the strap here. I came down 2 inches and I punched a buttonhole slot, and then I went another 2 inches and punched my other adjustment hole. And then I went 2.5 inches from the tip is where I installed the button stud. So 2.5 inches from the tip. So we'll do that one now. We're going to do 2.5 here and 2.5 here. And then for that one, I used probably this guy. Seems a little big, but I assume I use it because I put all my tools in a pile when I was using them. So this is a 5/32 hole punch. Make sure that's centered.
And that's about the diameter of the button stud post, correct?
Correct. Yep. So this will house my button stud. So I just have to put this screw in the hole. Oh, but it goes this way. And then this screws on because this will fold in half backwards.
I see.
I think I actually need to put, so before I put this on, these guys. Okay, so these are the little tabs that go on the end. I left these at full weight. I didn't actually put this on a camera. These might need to be split down a little bit depending on how far that post comes off of your camera. Will kind of determine the thickness of these guys. I think this is just to protect the camera from your hardware that you have. So this guy, you probably punched a 1/2 inch.
Yes,
So we'll make sure that goes on. You could use a 5/8 slot if you wanted to, just to give it a little bit more wiggle room if you wanted to. And then this is a 5/16 hole that I punched here. But this hole can just be whatever size hole you need it to be to go over that little camera tab. And then basically it just needs to catch that ring. So if you look at this, the ring falls literally right in the middle of that hole. So where you're going to punch that hole in yours is where that slot comes through, because you want that tension to be just right. So it's going to loop through your thing or through your strap, and then it should just fall basically center with that hole.
and I didn't take that into account. I just punched holes.
I'm sure it's going to be great. We might have to do that again. We'll see. Anyways, so we've got this, and we have our beautiful little keepers. We've got these little 1/2 inch keepers. So we're going to thread those onto this. Oh, you know what? Let's just punch our adjustment holes while we're punching holes. Let's just get that done, and then we can assemble everything. So for that, I used a 3/16. So we're going to go 2 and then 4 inches. We've got 2 inches here, and then 4 inches. And they make buttonhole punches, but they're kind of expensive. So if you don't want to buy one, you can just manually cut a hole and then cut a slot. But it does matter which way your slot runs. So that's really the only thing you have to take into consideration when you're doing the buttonhole studs. So I am using, these are the 10 millimeter. These are medium antique brass studs. Basically what you want is the hole size to match this post in here, so that when you push the knobby side of this button stud through, then the hole will close up right around that post and have a nice snug fit. So that's the idea here. So you want to get,
you don't want it the size of that knob. You want it the size of the post.
Exactly, the size of the post. So I've got a 3/16 hole punch for my 10 millimeter stud. So I'm going to try to center this as best I can. Punch all these guys out. You can press it down on your leather and see whether or not you're kind of where that mark is that you made. Punch this one. And then, so the button stud is going to be here, and it's going to flip around and go in. So I want the slot to be above the stud, because the stud is going to be pulling down this way, and you don't want it to pull into the slot. You want the slot to be on the side away from whatever your anchor is, or wherever your weight is. So I'm just going to take my knife. I guess you could even use that 5 millimeter chisel slot punch that we have would be perfect for this situation.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, I have one of these holes that I cut the bottom part just slightly as I was trying to cut my slot, which always is annoying. So you're going to come up here, and you kind of need a longer slot than you think that you need to go over that post, especially the heavier your leather is, the longer your slot has to be to get it to open up. Do you have any tips on that?
Probably a 1/2 inch in that area somewhere.
Yeah.
And
sometimes I'll go this way when I'm getting that little end section to cut. There we go.
Yeah, the slot itself really doesn't matter. If you're using some real pliable leather, something that's not very firm, you don't want to cut your slot any longer than necessary.
Right.
But a firm type leather, you have to cut a little longer slot to get it to work.
Yeah. There we go. Okay, all those are nice and open. That went better than I was expecting. So, so we are going to put keeper number 1 on and keeper number 2 on. That's right. And then this guy will slide on. Nope, this goes first. So, and then this, and then this. Yep, that 1/2 inch slot is just a little tight, but it'll be fine. Okay, Denny, what did one hat say to the other hat?
I have no idea. Let's hear it, Razor Blades.
And then your button stud goes on from the back, or from the front to the back, because it folds over in half. And then we're going to put, oh, well, that's just going to be, I don't know about these keepers. So you get this set where you want it, and then you're probably not going to move it. Because in order to get a keeper down at the base, and then one above, your button stud can't be in there. One here. Then I'll put the button stud back on. This feels like me and Clayton trying to figure out the straps on that bag. That was a fun afternoon.
Oh, it's wait here. I'll go ahead. That was pretty good.
What did one hat say to the other hat? That's pretty funny. All right. And
Or I'll go on ahead.
I'll
Yes.
go, yep. I'll go on
Now
ahead.
it makes more sense.
And then this is what I did yesterday to get that to go over the head. There we go. All right.
Very nice. Very nice.
So there's the end. Oh yeah, that's just, oh, it might still work. Maybe. Maybe not. It's probably a little shallow on there. This key ring really needs to fall in that circle, because that's where the little metal tab comes out. All right. Okay, let me put this other end together. We'll just pretend that it's fine.
Yeah.
So your 2 keepers, if you're going to use them, key ring, tab. That 5/8 slot would have been really nice, especially these are all saddle soaked, so they're nice and slick. And then we're going to put our button stud in. Nope, we're going to put this through this keeper. And then we're going to install the button stud. On finish side goes the back. And then you screw the stud onto the front. And then put him through his other keeper. And then you finagle it until it lines up with the hole. There we go. There we go. And there's a camera strap.
Very nice.
It feels so good, guys.
It looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that foam really makes it nice.
It feels really nice. And these just cinch right down. I like those keepers on there. That's nice. There he goes. There he goes. There we go. All right. Well,
Good
Denny,
job.
do we want to give away this wrist one before we get off here?
Sure.
All right. So, in the hat behind your head, we've got some names. All right. Okay, Denny, choose. We're giving away this little wrist strap that we made last week.
Okay.
Who do we got?
Jenna Schmidt.
Jenna
from Facebook.
Schmidt from Facebook.
Hi.
Yay! Congratulations,
All right.
Jenna. All right. Well, that was fun. All righty, folks. Well, that's that. Denny, what are you working on for Friday?
Well, I'm going to try and do a fly rod case.
Yeah. Brought in some PVC pipe today.
Yep.
He's putting some leather on it.
Yep. I'm going to do, I've got a fly rod at home that I don't have a case for. So I'm going
Gotta make a
I'm
case.
going to do a prototype for it.
I like it. I like it. That's what we do here.
But then I'm going to I'll bring it in Friday and we'll show you what we did. But then I'm going to do a short one for a 4-piece fly rod, which is what most people have.
Awesome. Awesome. Alrighty, guys. Well, if you are free on Thursdays at 2, you can join us tomorrow for some leather sales. Me and someone will be here tomorrow to sell you some leather. I think Stacy's going to help me actually with that. I'm just going to say it right now. Stacy will be in front of the camera tomorrow selling leather with me.
Oh, we'll see.
We'll see. In any case, and then we'll see you guys on Friday at 11 again for that fly rod case. Have a great rest of your week.
Bye-bye.